Welcome to Later is Now, the podcast where we talk about life, leadership, healing, faith, and the decisions that change everything. Listen, I'm your host, Leigh Allyson Smith, and I'm so grateful that you're here. I've been so excited to have this conversation. So, whether you're listening while driving to work, walking through your neighborhood, cleaning the house, or simply trying to make sense of your next chapter, thank you for spending this time with me. But before we begin, I want to tell you something that you'll probably hear me say at the beginning of every episode, because it isn't just the title of this podcast, it becomes my life's message. Later is where dreams go to die. Now is where purpose comes alive. I'll say it again. Later is where dreams go to die, and now is where purpose comes alive. Today, I want to challenge one sentence that almost all of us have said. I just need more time. Do you? Or have you confused waiting with wisdom? Because I don't believe most of us have a time problem. I think we have a decision problem. So today's episode is called You Don't Need More Time, You Need a Decision. So let's talk. We blame time for what fear created. Can I ask you a question? How many times have you said, I'll do it next month? Or you say, when life settles down, or when I lose the weight? Guilty. When the kids get older, when I have more money, when I have another degree, when I know more, when I feel ready. Do any of these sound familiar? They should, because we say these things a lot. Now, here's another question. How many of those things are really about time? And how many are really about fear? Sit with that for a second. Because time has become the perfect hiding place. We blame the calendar, and what we're really battling is uncertainty. We blame our schedule, and honestly, what we're really battling there is with insecurity. We say, I just need more time. No, maybe we need more courage. I want you to envision this. And let's talk about the cemetery called later. Imagine there was a cemetery, not filled with people, but filled with dreams, with books that were never written, businesses that never opened, ministries that never launched, prayers that were never acted upon, apologies that were never spoken, healing that never happened. Can you see that? Every gravestone has the same inscription. I'll do it later. That's why I say later is where dreams go to die. Not because you weren't gifted, not because God didn't call you, not because you weren't qualified, but because you kept postponing what heaven had already approved. That thought wrecks me. How much purpose has been buried? Can we sit with that for a moment? How many things have you thought about? How many things have the Lord given you that you have just cast into the cemetery of later? Because someone kept saying one day. Can I be honest with you? This message became personal after my career changed. For years, I was a healthcare executive, and that career wasn't just my job. It was a part of my identity, how I led people, how I impacted patient care, and how I impacted patient safety and staff safety and physician support. And I did a lot of work with second victim syndrome. When things happen to patients and families, it's hard, but things also happen to the provider, the physician, or the nurse when bad things happen to patients and families. So I did a lot of work that I felt was more than just a career, but it was a calling. It was what God called me for. It was for servant leadership. And then one day, everything changed. Everything changed. I had no control over that change. And I had a decision to make. I could spend years trying to recreate what was, or I could trust God with what was next. Was I afraid? Absolutely. Did I have all the answers? Not even close. But here's what I discovered: God wasn't asking me to know everything, He was asking me to decide. That decision led me to teaching, to speaking, to coaching, to writing, to ministry, to this microphone, and eventually to you. This podcast didn't happen because I suddenly had extra time. Let's be honest. None of us suddenly wake up with extra time. It happened because I finally made a decision. I stopped waiting for permission. I stopped waiting to feel ready. I stopped waiting for perfect, and I decided. And that decision changed everything. The morning after my career changed, my husband said to me at 4 a.m. as he was leaving to go to work, "Babe, later is now. Later is now. All those things that you've been thinking about doing, now you have the opportunity to do." Y'all, I sat up in the bed. His words were so clear, and I feel like it was God speaking through him. Later is now. So I say that to you. Don't throw those ideas into the cemetery of later. Whatever it is that God put into you, do it now. Another reason that this resonates with me is because I lost my father 3 years ago. And let me just say, as an only child, you don't have siblings, so you have your mom and your dad. They're your people, they're your tribe, they're your unit. And losing my dad felt so final. And let me just say, he loved the Lord, he professed Christ, and so I absolutely know where he will be and where his soul will rest. But the fact that he left this place, he left me, it totally changed my life. My own mortality became more apparent. And let me just say, unless you have lost a parent, you cannot even fathom the pain that it feels when they are gone and when it's so final. And what it taught me is that tomorrow is not promised. None of us know when God is calling us home. And so this time that we're in that seems like we have more of it, we in fact may not. There's a scripture that says that life is a vapor. It's a mist. And we think we have more time than we have. And so later is where dreams go to die. And now is where purpose comes alive, is speaking to someone else who may be listening to me who has lost a loved one, a parent, a spouse, a child. Your life is forever changed. Yes, I understand. But it does not mean that you have to wait another minute to step out on faith and do what God has called you to do. Every life changes because of one decision. Think about your own life. You probably aren't where you are because of time. You're where you are because of decisions. You decided to marry. You decided to leave. You decided to forgive. You decided to move. You decided to apply. You decided to say yes. Or you decided to stay where you were. Life changes because of decisions, not calendars. And let me just add, indecision is still a decision. Here's the hard truth. Not deciding is still deciding. So every day you postpone, you're choosing the status quo. Every day you delay, you're making a decision to remain where you are. Sometimes we call it being wise. Sometimes we call it waiting on God. But if we're honest, sometimes it's just fear wearing church clothes. That might sting. Ooh, it's true though. It's true. I'm waiting on God. How are you doing that, in fact? Are you reading his word? Are you meditating on his word? Are you going into prayer? When you get awakened at 2 or 3 in the morning, are you sitting with God? Are you asking him to speak? Or are our prayers just a monologue? What does waiting on God look like? Is it without action? Is it without anything on our part? Or are we seeking him? Think about that. James chapter 1 says that a double-minded person is unstable in all they do. And notice, God isn't criticizing them. He's describing what indecision produces: instability. You cannot move forward while trying to stand in two places. You know, I've learned that God usually gives the next step. He rarely gives us the whole staircase. He usually gives us the next step. If he showed us the next 10 years, most of us would never start. Faith isn't having all the answers. Faith is taking the next obedient step. So let me ask you, what decision have you been avoiding? What's your decision? Maybe it's writing the book. Ouch. I'm doing that too. Maybe it's launching the business. Is it starting therapy? Have you gone through divorce or some other life event where you know you need additional support and you're just afraid to start? You're afraid of being judged. You're afraid of being vulnerable. Can I just tell you, therapy is some of the best medicine you can give your soul. And you are still God's favorite. No matter why you are sitting in that chair, you are enough and you are loved by the Almighty. And so start that therapy. How about leaving the unhealthy relationship? What's your decision? I left one. It was unhealthy. It was hard. I thought I let God down, but it was unhealthy and it was unsafe. What's your decision? Applying for the promotion, serving in ministry, recording the podcast. Okay, I had to say this, y'all. I have been committing to doing this podcast for years. Do you hear me? For years. What's your decision? Having the difficult conversation? Forgiving someone? Forgiving yourself? You probably knew your answer before I finished this list because the Holy Spirit has been whispering it to you for months, maybe years. But here's something that I wish more people understood. Clarity doesn't usually come before action. Clarity comes because of action. Most people are waiting to feel confident, and confidence usually arrives after you've begun. Every step reveals the next one. So in Ecclesiastes, it says, whoever watches the wind will not plant. In other words, if you wait for perfect conditions, you will never begin. So before today ends, make one decision, not 5, 1. Send the email. Start writing the book draft. Write the first page. Register for the class. Launch the website. Make the phone call to whoever it is God has placed on your heart. The argument that you had, you haven't spoken for years. Make the phone call. Forgive. Pray. Start. Don't overcomplicate it. Just move. And I want you to remember one sentence, not because it's clever, but because I believe it's true. Later is where dreams go to die. Every excuse, every delay, every one day, I'll start on Monday, every when I'm ready. But now is where purpose comes alive. Purpose comes alive when you choose obedience over comfort. Purpose comes alive when faith becomes action. Purpose comes alive when you stop waiting for another sign and you start walking in the one God has already given you. So today, don't ask for more time. Ask God for the courage to decide, because one decision can change the trajectory of your entire life. Thank you for spending this time with me today. This was a tough one for me. Time is always of the essence, so we think. But actually, it's not. So if today's episode encouraged you, challenged you, or reminded you that your next chapter begins with one decision, would you share it with someone else who needs to hear it? Be sure to follow Later Is Now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio so you never miss an episode. And I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on social media at I am Leigh Smith and tell me, what decision are you making this week? I truly believe your answer may become someone else's breakthrough. Until next time, I'm Leigh Allyson Smith. And remember, later is where dreams go to die. Now is where purpose comes alive. This is Later Is Now. God bless you, and I'll see you in episode 2.